Hello everybody. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a graph. So we're going to start out with some graph paper, and you're going to need to draw a line near the bottom, but make sure that you leave some room to write something underneath. So I'm going to draw my line here. This is your x-axis. This is for your independent variable. That's the thing that controls the other variable. If one of your variables is time, time is always going to be your independent variable. Time controls other things, but nothing controls time. So I'm going to label my x-axis time, and I'm also going to tell the units that I'm measuring time in. In physics class, this is either going to be seconds or hours. In this particular case, I'm going to number my lines by 2. It may be different in a different graph, but for me, this is what I'm going to do. So that line is going to be 0. This one is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm going to stop there because that's good enough for the graph that I'm making today. Now I'm going to draw a vertical line over on the left-hand side. That's going to be my y-axis. That's going to be for my dependent variable. The dependent variable is controlled by the independent variable. In this particular case, it's distance. And I'm going to measure distance in meters. It might be kilometers, but in physics class, it's usually going to be meters. I'm going to number these every 10. Because that's what's going to work for my graph. It may be different for a different graph. Now that I have my axes written out, labeled, and numbered, I have what the label is, I have the units I'm measuring it in, and I have my numbers. Now I'm going to start making my graph. At time 0, my object is at distance 0. So I'm going to put a dot. At time 2, my object is at distance 10. So I'm going to go at 2 seconds. I'm going to go up to 10 meters, and I'll put a dot there. At 4 seconds, my object is at 20 meters. At 6 seconds, my object is at 30 meters. And at 8 seconds, my object is at 40 meters. Now I'm just going to draw a line that connects the dots or most of the dots. While I'm doing this, I can also calculate my slope. I have another video on calculating slope if you would like to see that in more detail, but we'll go through a little bit just for practice. Remember that the slope is the rise over the run. So the highest point on my graph that I have a number for is 40. The lowest point on my graph is 0. So my rise is 40 minus 0. My rise is 40. My run, the furthest distance that I have a number for is 8. My run began at 0. So 8 minus 0 equals 8. So my rise is 40. My run is 8. I get my calculator and I do the problem 40 divided by 8. And I end up with 5. It was 5 meters, 40 was meters, divided by seconds. My run was seconds. So my answer is 5 meters per second. That's a velocity. So this turns out to be a velocity graph. We're going to go more into detail on that later, but that should give you a good start on how to make a graph.